Welcome back to Murder with Friends, the show where two friends get together and talk about the darker sides of history. I'm your host, Grace Baldridge, and today I'm joined by my brother, Kempton Baldridge. Kempton, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me, even though I'm your ride here, so you don't have a choice. Today we're going to be talking about presidential assassinations, and maybe some of the presidential assassinations you guys have not heard of yet. So we are definitely going to sit down and do a full episode on the JFK assassination, but there were a couple that we got to talking to that are sort of smaller stories that I think it'd be interesting to share and sort of the connection between the assassins. The first one that I know I've talked about with you before is James Garfield, July 2nd, 1881.
So James A. Garfield was elected on a platform of reforming civil service. The president has to, chooses, ambassadors to countries and being postmaster general, and actually this is true. I think at that time, I don't know if it's still the case, he would appoint someone to be postmaster of this state or that state. And patronage had become very corrupt, where you'd have people who would raise a lot of money and then would tell the president, like, can I be Postmaster General of Missouri?
So basically,
sure.
Charles
Guiteau wanted to be ambassador to France.
And then he wasn't allowed to be ambassador to France, so he was very disappointed.
Yeah.
He decided to kill the president.
Yeah.
But he didn't die right away.
No, he did not die right away. This was July, and President Garfield was in and out of consciousness for several months, and I don't know how this didn't trigger a massive constitutional crisis, because people did not know who was leading the United States in the summer of 1881. Mm-hmm. He finally passed away, but you had, throughout that summer, I guess because Congress and the Senate wasn't in session, they figured, like, okay, well, let's just hope that Garfield pulls through. And he didn't end up pulling through. He died, and Chester A. Arthur became president. But what's most funny about the poor Garfield thing was that Alexander Graham Bell had started developing an X-ray to help figure out.
And everything started going off because his bed was metal.
His bed was metal, and
where's the bullet?
Where's
the
bullet?
Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the bullet? I don't know. But yeah, it was a metal detector, not an X-ray. And as he was sort of going through it, and as the doctors were cutting Garfield open, seemingly basic stuff that we do today, which is wash your damn hands before sticking your fingers in someone's entrails. Yeah, doctors didn't do that. So James A. Garfield ultimately died of an infection
in his blood.
Of an infection in his blood, because the doctors were just like, "Is it here? No."
While they're like,
yeah,
like barbecue.
Oh, what? Thanks. What is this?
For my sandwich.
Thanks for the brisket. This was delicious.
All right, and then what about Theodore Roosevelt in October 14th, 1912? He was shot at by John Schrank. He wasn't assassinated.
He wasn't assassinated.
But it was an assassination attempt. I think the story is really interesting because he was shot while he was giving a speech, but because he'd had the crumpled speech or something, or a bunch of papers in his pocket,
yes.
It stopped the bullet. Once Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, realized he was fine, he continued giving the speech.
It's probably one of the biggest badass president stories ever. He was running with the progressive Republicans, the Progressive Party, Bull Moose, and he continued to give his speech. And there's a copy. It went through the whole thing, and he literally stood up in front of a bunch of people and said, "I have just been told that I have been shot, but it takes more than a bullet to kill a bull moose."
Oh, wow.
Doesn't get more fucking badass than that.
Yeah, and his assassin, James Schrank, said that he was told in a dream by William McKinley, another U.S. president, to...
The president who had been assassinated.
Who had been assassinated.
And as a result of that, Theodore Roosevelt
took office. So this guy, John Schrank, thought that William McKinley came to him in a dream and said, "You have to avenge my assassination by assassinating Teddy Roosevelt," but it was a failed attempt. I thought that was an interesting story. You don't hear about that one, I don't think so much. And then the other one was Richard Nixon, and you told me about this one last night. It's not funny, Kempton. People died.
Well, he died. No, Nixon died. Nixon didn't die.
A pilot died.
Oh, the pilot died, I
guess.
Yeah,
people died, Kempton. Okay, but look, Samuel Bike, February 22nd, 1974.
Yes.
Walk me through this story.
He decided he wanted to assassinate Richard Nixon. I don't remember why, but
because he felt the Small Business Administration turned him down for a loan. He was
a crazy person.
Samuel Bike was a very crazy person.
Yes.
He sent a lot of rambling recordings of himself
to Leonard Bernstein.
To Leonard Bernstein. to Leonard Bernstein and Richard
Which
Nixon.
is really fun. Like, I just.
So he's a crazy guy.
Why the fuck Leonard Bernstein? Is it just
He
sort of
liked his
like
music.
I'd like to be in West Side Story, please.
Okay. And then what happened when he tried to assassinate Richard Nixon?
He was going to take a commercial. He was going to hijack a commercial airliner, and then crash it into the White House. And he actually got as far as shooting a pilot, getting into the cockpit, putting the little thing on, and then being like, okay, I'm gonna take the plane off. And then the people were like, sir, the blocks are blocking the tires. You can't move. So he just sort of was like,
and then he asked a passenger on the flight, do you know how to fly the plane?
Can you help me fly
The
this?
passenger was like, no, I can't help you. So that was a failed attempt. He ended up dying when they.
I'm just picturing going to the the passengers. He's like, I'm gonna crash this into the White House, but I need your help. I can't do this without you. Can you help me fly this plane? We're gonna
drive the plane.
Can you drive the plane with me into the White House? Any takers? Anybody?
The thing about
who wants to be a martyr?
planes are so slow too. Like they don't. Oh, I guess they can get pretty fast. Now that I'm thinking, I guess they can.
It's not gonna be like Nixon's not gonna be like ah. It's not like
I was
that.
thinking of him taxiing into the.
That's great. It's like Nixon's like, yeah, he's like,
We see you.
we see you. And everyone's just like shooting like pistols.
Look, it's not funny because there were some people that ended up dying as a result of him getting on the plane. He killed the pilot. He killed another officer that tried to disarm him, and then Samuel Bike himself was killed in the line of fire. And then lastly, I guess we should probably touch on one that maybe you have heard of before. Ronald Reagan had an assassination attempt March 30th, 1981. John Hinckley Jr. and Kempton, why did he want to assassinate Ronald Reagan?
Because he saw the movie Taxi Driver and was like, huh, I could do that. Who's Robert De Niro's character goes a little crazy and comes very close to assassinating a presidential candidate, and Jodie Foster's in it as well.
And John Hinckley Jr. was obsessed with Jodie Foster.
Was obsessed with Jodie Foster, the actress.
Well, he couldn't separate her from her character.
Right. He was a crazy person. He couldn't separate it, and he wanted to impress her.
Yeah. But those were some presidential assassinations and attempts that maybe we don't get to talk about so often. There's so many more.
Presidential assassinations are, these are some fascinatingly bizarre, sick people.
With
very bizarre motives.
With very heightened perceptions of self. I think that if that's one correlation between the four that we talked about today, it's that they thought that they deserved more, that they deserved something, that they had earned something that indeed they hadn't, and they blamed that directly on the most powerful person in the world. And what a delusion of grandeur you have to think that I alone can stop this person, or this person alone has inflicted this sort of malice or this ill will on me.
Well, for all the power that the president has, both in the past and today, I think that a lot of these people were like, you know what's more powerful than the president? The person who kills the president. And that's a really sick, twisted way of that they think. But I think many presidential assassins, that's their idea. They're like, well, I can't ever get that far. I can't be president of the free world, but I can kill the leader of the free world.
And that will give me the status
that gives me the status
crave.
that I crave, exactly.
All right, well, guys, we want to hear from you in the comment section below. Had you heard of any of these presidential assassinations or attempts before? What are some of the assassinations that you know of? Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time on Murder with Friends.